Good morning, everyone. My name is Eugene Nicandri. I'm Chair of the Joint Authority and Canal Corporation Audit Committee. I'd like to welcome other members of the committee, the Chair of the Board, John Kamel, Trustee Trainer, and Trustee Gonzalez. Trustee Anthony Pacente is excused from this particular meeting. I'd also like to welcome NIPA staff members who are participating. This is a scheduled meeting under the Open Meetings Law, which has been duly noticed thereunder. I call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the July 14 proposed agenda. That's been circulated to the members of the committee. If there are no additions or deletions, I would ask for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved or seconded.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is we're going into executive session. The meeting will resume an open session in approximately 45 minutes. I'd ask for a motion to conduct an executive session to discuss the financial and credit history of a particular corporation under 105F of the Public Officers Law.
So moved.
Second. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would ask for a motion to resume the meeting in open session.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. I would note that there were no votes taken during the executive session. We're at the discussion agenda, and I would ask Angela Gonzalez, Senior Vice President for Internal Audit, to present this update. Angela?
Okay. Well, good morning, trustees, EMC, NIPA and Canal staff. We'll get right into the presentation. So if we can go to the next slide. And the next one. Okay. I do want to discuss briefly about our internal audit scorecard. If you recall, the top half of our scorecard is related to internal audit metrics. The bottom half is related to observations that we've identified and are tracking for 2021 and 2022. So if we go to the first metric at the top here, we're at our 2022 audit plan, we're at 40%. If you recall, our audit year is ending in the first quarter of 2023. So we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule, and that we anticipated a little bit lower. We're on track we are targeting to finish by the end of February. I do want to highlight here, this was a benchmark with the IIA. Their data is not current. They're retooling all of their benchmarking tools. So we made this an internal target. It isn't, we have to get our plan done by the end of the audit year. So we made it at 100%. We're on track for that. IA operational excellence, there are 3 metrics here: audit deliverables with opinions, field work to report issuance, and by weeks, and then the average project life cycle it takes us to get an audit completed. This is the first metric here. Bar chart is an internal target of 50%. We're at 71% right now. The field work to report issuance, the benchmark for here is 6.6. We're at 2.6 on the average weeks it takes us to get a report out. And then for project lifecycle, the benchmark is 11.4, and we're at 9.6 weeks on the average. So tracking well to that metric. And then to the right, the last metric here is department utilization. It's also an internal target. There is not an external benchmark for this. We're at 76%. Our target is 70, so above the target. The remaining hours that's allocated is to our GRC support, our implementing our DA strategy, training, and then administrative time. If there are any questions related to the top half of the scorecard. Okay, if not, then we'll go to the bottom half. There's 3 metrics here on observations identified. We do track percentage of high-risk observations identified, percentage of high-risk observations implemented by due date. That's an internal target of 100%. We want all our observations to be implemented by the due date. and then percentage of all observations implemented by due date. So in 2021, we identified 19 were high out of the 98, which came to 19%. And so far for 2022, we have 4 out of the 27 that have been identified for 2022. In terms of implementing by due date the highs, at this point we have 13 out of the 19 for 2021 that are have been implemented on time, and overall implementation for observations for 2021 we have 82 out of the 98, and then 8 out of the 27 have been implemented for 2022 on time. To the right here is just we're really tracking the pattern of how high risk observations are being closed. So for the 13 that I just mentioned, 10 have been implemented ahead of time, 3 on time. We have 6 remaining, 2 have been extended. Those 2 will be tracking to close by the end of this quarter. And then we have 4 that are in progress, and then 4 that are in progress for 2022. And I have other slides that can go into a little bit more detail on that. Any questions here? If we can move, if not, we can move to the next slide. Okay. Okay. Audit plan status. So we're at 43 projects for NIPA and canals. We have 17 deliverables issued, 13 reports, and 4 memos associated with those 43 projects. And I've mentioned we've reached 40% completion. We are anticipating about 50 deliverables for both for these 43 projects, since we have 5 projects that are related to a system implementation or an ongoing advisory work, so they'll have more than 1 deliverable. Plans on track, as I mentioned. 3 audits are in reporting stage. We're expecting to issue 1 or 2 this week or early next week, and then we have 3 in field work. Should be issues. Those reports will go out by the end of July or early August. And then we have 2 projects that are in planning. So if we can go to the next slide. 2022 Environmental Health and Safety Compliance Audit Plan. So we have 5 projects that are on the plan for this year. We're actually, for one of them, we actually feel by the time we got the raw materials, we completed field work. We have received the report working with our third-party consultant. And we have 4 remaining for the rest of that will take place in Q3 and Q4. So on track for this as well. If we go to the next slide. Just briefly, we have 1 change to the audit plan where we split 1 audit. It was a data center operations audit into 2. So we split it into the White Plains Data Center relocation. So that added on 1. The other half that we completed was looking at the Emergency Energy Control Center, physical environmental controls. We completed that. So we made it to 43 projects. You can go to the next slide. So 2022 observations that I've mentioned, 27 observations identified. We have closed 8, 19 are open. So 30% closure. Either they would close ahead of time or on time. There are no extensions at this point, and all of the observations that identified are on track to close for their due dates, and so making good progress here so far for 2022. The 2 bar charts you see here are you can go. Okay, we'll go to the next one. 2021, 98 observations were identified, 82. Okay, 82 were closed, 16 observations are open. We're about 84% closure. So making good progress here, whether they are closed on time or ahead of time or on time. Minimal extensions. Making really good progress on 2021 as well. We can go to the next slide. We can actually go to the next slide because that's kind of this information is just a breakdown of what's been closed and open, the number and percentage. It's really the same information. So it's just on a different view. If we can go to the next slide. So this is the environmental health and safety observations that that came out from the 4 audits we did last year. There were 106 we identified, and 101 have been closed. We're at 95% closure. We have 5 left. to close 3 high and 2 medium. This also speaks to the culture of safety within NIPA, how committed they are to this. And so they've made really great progress here. And none of these are overdue at this point. They will close according to their due dates. I can go to the next slide. So just briefly on our internal audit strategy, I just want to highlight some things on data analytics and GRC optimization. So last year we built 3 routines for Procord, fixed assets, journal entries, and we've shared, and now we've updated and we ran those analytics again for with 2022 data. We've gotten good results. We've shared these results with our stakeholders, had good positive feedback from them. That these routines are something valuable to them that they could use. These routines are moving to continuous auditing, and this is part of the strategy. Is once we start building routines, we can run them frequently, give them to the business that any outliers or things that they need to investigate. That's the whole goal. And eventually, if they want to, they can take these routines themselves, and that would be continuous monitoring. The other thing I wanted to highlight on the GRC side, so we've had some implementation issues with the observation management module. We've brought those issues to risk and Archer support staff. They have fixed these issues for us so far. We've tested them in the QA environment. We will be deploying them into production by the end of July. The issues we've had were related to notifications. We're not firing and not generating for our action owners to put updates in. So we'll be testing them in August. We'll see if notifications are going out and monitoring them over the next couple of months. But as a backup plan, we did upload our 2022 observations into our SharePoint applications because we're still closing out 2021 in that application, so we can continue for notifications to go out to action owners, as well as providing EMC reporting on their open observations on a monthly basis. Any questions here? If not, I can go straight to the next slide. This is, I'm not going to go into details here. This is so these are the CE required communications to the audit committee. These are specific standards that I have to communicate to you. I know one we added from last time we met was related to the internal audit charter, which has been updated, reviewed by senior management and the audit committee. And we'll be looking for approval of that internal audit charter. I believe that's the next slide. I don't think there's anything left, but the rest are just appendix information.
Anybody have any questions for Angela? Thank you.
Angela, all that seems very positive, and great to see not only the execution in your function, but across the organization. So, I mean, playing off of that, I'm curious your perspective. 2.5 years into COVID, shifting, work dynamic and environment, but doesn't seem to be having any negative impact in terms of our own controls environment, the organization's effectiveness, functionality. And I'll pontificate a bit from where you sit in terms of that oversight function. 2.5 years later, anything that we need to be sensitive to or paying more attention to, rather?
I would say over the last, with the pandemic over the last 2.5 years, I believe that the organization was really able to pivot and focus on the higher risk and what was really important. And I think that's reflected in the where we are today. I would say what's important from an organizational perspective is the human capital part of it, making sure that we're keeping our employees happy and then giving them interesting work. That's going to be a challenge for us. I think that's a challenge across any organization at this point. But I would say we, as an organization, we did a good job in addressing the critical risks. And I know internal audit's been focusing on the key projects across the organization, so we can determine that those risks are being addressed. And then we do recommend the observations that we've identified are addressing those.
Okay, well, thank you, appreciate it.
Angela, you and I have had a couple of discussions about the difficulty in recruiting and keeping people salary wise, and just the busyness of the audit department. Can you enlighten us a little bit on how that's going and where we're at here?
Sure. So like many other departments, we're feeling it as well in terms of having, lost some staff. So we are fortunate enough to have a co-source partner that is helping us to complete our plan. We are actively recruiting. Yes, and in the market today for auditors, they're at the senior auditor level. There is a shortage across every industry. And yeah, we have to compete with the higher salaries that they're getting. But luckily we're starting to get some resumes coming in. We're actively recruiting. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to get, fill those positions coming, this quarter and next quarter. So that's where we're at in terms of staffing.
Thank you.
How many open spots do you have right now?
We have 7 open spots, but
That's about a third.
it's a third. Yes.
That high, John?
I mean, it's a little higher for us. I'm
Yeah,
not in a
it's kinda
position to
yes.
find.
It's high for us.
industries.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do a comparison, in December of 2021, we were at 21 staff. Now,
Right.
in July, we're at, 16. So,
Right,
yeah, you can
but
see
Deloitte's
the
been,
shift in the
Deloitte's been able
market.
to compensate.
What was that, Chairman?
You've been able to compensate with Deloitte, or?
Yes, we have. We have. So that we've been able to, be on track with our plan because of their ability to provide the resources that we need to complete.
Okay.
You
Good.
probably
That,
just need to
Angela, that tends to be an expensive fallback, right? I mean, that's more expensive, having
It is.
especially a third of your team being outsourced to.
Well, we have about dedicated like 6 Deloitte resources, but it kind of balances off with the payroll. The payroll's lower, so the consulting costs go a little higher. So yeah, we will have an increased cost overall for consulting costs this year because of the situation.
It just, begs the question as to what's the right business model going forward. Like anything, I think that audit model is gonna have to evolve. It's going to be
Yes.
increasingly difficult for us to attract the talent we need, and an increasing mix of inside and outside resources is not a surprise to me, so.
Mhm.
But yeah, we need to be sensitive to that as we, look forward, so.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks, Angela.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next item, audit services and not audit advisory service engagements. Adam?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Just to quickly update, we're asking for an approval of an additional amount of $2 million over 2 years, $1 million a year, to cover additional work that will be required by KPMG to complete their annual audit, given the fact that they will be asked to provide additional work for statements regarding the new captive insurance company we're creating, as well as the separately financed project, which will also require standalone financials, and the implementation of GASB 87, which is the lease accounting requirements this year. All of these will require additional work on their part, as well as allowance for additional services related to review and advice on the Clean Path project, which has significant complicated accounting issues, which is a non-audit advisory work, which we've previously communicated with you and got approval for that, as well as all the certifications from KPMG that doing that work does not interfere with their ability to provide independence in their audit and their opinion. So that's what's before today for approval. So we're recommending that move forward. Any questions?
If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the item.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda. That's been provided to the committee members. Consists of meeting minutes and the audit charters, and the audit charter is now before the members for adoption. I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is the next meeting of the audit committee to be held on December 13, 2022. I would ask for a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. We are in adjournment. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Well
Judge.
done, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you,
Stay
Judge.
Way
healthy.
to go out, Judge. That's a meeting.
There you go.
You've set a
Judge.
pretty high bar for the rest of us, committee
I don't know
chair.
about that, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.